Hello everyone. I've been meaning to record another episode for quite a while now, but as things unfold, it happens when it happens. So a lot of things have changed in my life, or I should say one major change in my life, and that's my living situation. I had previously mentioned that I had some difficulty in my environment I was living in. I was living with a parent, and it was an intense environment. There was lots of unconscious behaviour, and it was very difficult for me to sustain my own health in that environment. So I made the decision to leave, and it's had quite an effect because it's almost uprooted where I'm in some way where I've been used to, and as challenging as it was there was some comfort there as well. In my environment there was almost a routine, and now I'm living in a different city, in a different environment, and that brings its own challenges as well. So, and it's funny because the last few nights, as I've been lying in bed ready to sleep, ideas spontaneously come to me of what I could do for my next episode, or not so much what, but certain things I wanted to mention. But it's funny that things come at a time where perhaps it's not the most convenient. I didn't have the energy to get up and write anything down, and often I record these episodes without any preparation. As I'm sitting here now, there's no notes, or very rarely I may have a few bullet points, or usually I just have like a topic in mind but nothing in detail. And I think I purposely took that approach because this whole practice is about seeing what there is. We are not creating anything new. There's no complicated concepts to figure out to get to where you think there will be peace. And I quickly want to say, in the last couple of weeks, my mental health has taken a hit. I have been ruminating a lot, and there's been lots of anxiety about various things in my life, and I find that there has been awareness about that, but not enough to step into presence. I've been too much in the mind to step into presence, and even the desire to step into presence has not been there. So that's not something I have wished to be there, because all I can do is be as I am, and that desire, that understanding, which is almost a bridge. When I mention pointers or even metaphors, they're not it, but they're a bridge to walk across, almost figuratively, to step into the now. But I didn't have any any willpower, any desire to do that, which again, as I always say, is fine, because things are meant to be as they are. If you take this moment, however you're listening to this, sitting down, at home, or driving or walking, everything in your life is as it is. We can mention many shoulds or coulds. I wish I could do this, past, future, and we can go all day dissecting our life, but ultimately in this one wave, we can kind of call it, we're all water molecules dancing around. We may think we have our own life in this box, this is my life, but ultimately we're just in this dance of life. And I find that it takes a certain amount of trust in that as well, because remember, the mind has no idea about this space, this presence, this being here and now with the absence of thought. It has no understanding of that. So, for example, if you're listening to these words, or if you've listened to my previous audios and you've been a bit bored by them, then it means that you've been in the mind. Because if you are in the mind and you are listening to these, they're going to be very boring. Because the mind doesn't understand what these pointers are, what they are pointing to. The mind simply wants more pleasure. It just desires, maybe a desire for less pain, a desire for certain situations in your life, for them not to be there, or blaming people or things for certain pains in your life. That's what the mind does. But it's for only those that have tasted the here and now, who have almost dived in the ocean of now and experienced it, have swum around it, will understand these words. Because we can talk about peace all day long. This state of presence, we can talk about it all day long, but it's only until you dive off the diving board and explore and experience. There is no other way. No matter how good a concept or metaphor is given, how good of a pointing, how clear it is, until you actually leap and make that leap into the now. And I say it's a trust because in our mind we say we are responsible for everything. Every achievement is done because of me and my hard work, my effort. And the same when things go wrong. Every underachievement or every wrongdoing is because of me. Oh, that was my fault. All this stuff happened. And again, that's what the mind does. It calculates, it assumes. But when you are in the here and now, meaning there is no me in this equation, there is just things happening. For example, it may seem really simple to the mind if we walk down a street, come across a stranger, your eyes meet and you both smile and say hello and carry on walking each other's way. To the mind that's extremely simple. Oh, I just met a stranger, smiled, and that's it. But in reality, if you imagine all of the things it took to get you there to that moment, and the same with the other person, it's a huge, almost event when you cross paths with somebody. But what the mind does, it simplifies everything into a concept, into a very shallow meaning. For example, if you're in a relationship right now, or even a friendship or family, the love you have for that person, if you were to imagine someone in life that you love very much, in the mind, it will just be, I love this person. And maybe the mind may list a few things. Oh yeah, they're nice. They've done so many things to help me. But it's extremely shallow. If you were to dive into that love you have for them, you can imagine the depth of that versus the mind's interpretation of that in a few thoughts or words. So I find with the changes in my life, I find them to be very difficult because in essence nothing has changed. If we go back to just being aware, for example, I'm sitting in a chair right now, and I could just as easily be sitting in a chair at my previous home. I'm breathing as I would breathe there. It's only in the structure of the mind where I create all these ideas. And some of them need to be addressed. It's not a case of just ignoring everything and every situation is fine if you're here in the now. But when you are here in the now, the byproduct of that is that you will do what you need to do. And to give a silly example, if you are sitting down on a chair and you are just being present and suddenly it starts raining and some rain comes through the top of the window and it starts splashing you, there is no thought process often of, oh, there's rain falling. Okay, should I accept that or what should I do? Automatically you would rise from the chair and close the window. And it's that same trust in big events in your life. For example, if you are seeking a partner or seeking more friends, if that's done from the present moment, then what needs to be done will be done. But you can also worry from the mind, oh, I need to meet somebody, I need to do this, I need to do that. And all of that is an illusion of worry. And that's a natural part of the process. It's not wrong that you may worry too much about something. That's just a part of your evolution. If you go back to the metaphor of a flower opening, that's just your process of the flower opening. For it to open, you may need to suffer with worry until gradually, with time, steps will be taken where you're able to worry less about things. But we are all on our evolution, we are all unraveling. I mean that in a good way. And for me, in these last couple of weeks, as hard as they have been, they've almost been, this is, I guess, one of the hardest times of my life. One of the most challenging. There's lots of uncertainty in my life. And for me, that's a process that's not just there by chance. I often struggle with change, so this is perhaps an opportunity to be in the centre of a storm and find a peace there. Just imagine in a situation where it's the most challenging. If you're able to find peace there, then where can't you find peace? And for me personally, I haven't quite reached there yet. It may take months or years for that to happen, but it's not my responsibility to manage my journey, which sounds strange because in the mind, the world of the mind, everything is our responsibility. And it's almost in this practice of present moment is almost an undoing of things, undoing of worry, undoing of unnecessary preparation of things. Because you can prepare for something, which is fine, but I can imagine we over-prepare for something. We worry, over-worry. Worrying is a natural feeling we have. It's designed to help us. For example, if I have an exam in 3 days and a worry comes, I don't think I'm going to pass the exam. I can think, I've not really done much revision for it. Okay. And put the worry aside and start revising. But if I was continually worrying every day, then that worrying is a complete waste. It does nothing for me. And just to connect with my previous episode where I talked about mental health, things to help the functioning of your mind. I want to relate that to being in the present moment. When you experience an emotion which is almost a reflection of a thought happens and then an emotion may arise from that thought, which happens in the body. It's a physical thing, emotions. So when an emotion happens, it releases chemicals, either good chemicals or chemicals that are designed to help defend, protect the body. For example, you may think about a thought about tomorrow and suddenly you'll be feared, or be scared. And it may release chemicals in you to, your heart rate might increase. Now what often happens is that burst of chemicals continues. So every worry we have, we may be constantly releasing unhealthy chemicals in our body. Unhealthy meaning long-term. For example, anger is usually a very short burst and then it's over. But with the emotion after it, we can play with the scenario that happened over and over again. And what we do is we relive that scenario. And the mind is not able to tell what's real and not real in the sense of releasing chemicals in your body. So the emotions you experience are very real, even though you may be sitting in your room. If you've had a traumatic event, you relive those and the same chemicals get released inside of your body as if it's happening. So what the present moment does, being in that state, it's almost a detox. It detoxifies the body. it releases different chemicals when you are in that present moment, because you're not adding anything to it. So I just want to sit with that for a moment. Being in the present moment almost cleans your mind and your body. It's almost medicine for it. So at the moment I'm staying with one of my siblings, and I'm only here for the short term. I've decided I would need a space of my own in order to almost to heal from past events, and so I've decided to get some financial help because of my mental health. My anxiety has significantly increased, and so has been a significant increase in I guess you can call it depressive symptoms, because depression there's so many symptoms to go with that word. It's very, we all have our interpretation of that, but I've been feeling a lot of symptoms that are labelled depression as well. So one of my first things I need to do is take care of my own health, and so I've decided to get some financial support for people, who at this time may be struggling to work. And it's been a huge struggle to do that, to get help. So I'm kind of taking it that day by day, moving towards the possibility of trying to get my own space, my own living space. And I'm being careful not to get attached to this idea. And by being present, that takes care of itself. Because you can't be present and be thinking about the future of what you would want to happen. So a lot of it, being in this natural state, a lot of things are taken care of by itself, by nature. Just as our body takes care of us, it remembers to breathe. It tells you when it's hungry, when it's thirsty. It tells you when it's lonely, when you feel like, I could do with some company. I need some face-to-face. And the present moment comes with its own taking care of. I cautiously use the word you because, of course, maybe it takes care of your awareness. It takes care of your own practice. There's a self-care there. And what I encourage you to do is almost dive into this ocean. You can do that by mindful meditation practices, and I encourage you to look at videos on YouTube, type in being present, or type in some videos from Eckhart or Mooji or any other spiritual teacher that you've come across. Deepak Chopra is another one. And maybe if there are any books that resonate with you, go to your bookshop, look at the spiritual section and dive into this. And the effort you want to give is where you are at the moment. There's no good or bad. If part of you is struggling to pull in the effort to be present, or having the desire to be present, that's fine. That's just how it is at the moment. We're only ready for what we are ready for. It just means you may need to wait a bit longer for a time that comes where suddenly you have a thirst for it, and you may not know where that's come from. But often I find when things happen in the moment, it's something we're ready for and we can handle. Some things I do at the moment is I write a journal. I handwrite a journal. I try and do it every day, but it doesn't always happen every day. And in a journal, at the moment, I am writing a lot of mind stuff, which I've just become aware of, and that's okay. But I think it would be wise for me to also return to some thoughts or some reflections about being in that infinite space, and perhaps write the journal from that space, even though I may be talking about what somebody said to me or my thoughts that I struggle with. Maybe a step for me would be to write it from a space of being present. And so perhaps now you can think of either an activity or a resource, a book or a video you can watch in the next day or two, or you can go to the library and get that book, or something you can do now. Perhaps this is, through my voice, a reminder is given to you to, what can I do now? And again, feel free to write in the comments if you're able to log on to YouTube. I don't know if there is a comment section in Anchor and the other podcast platforms. I don't think there is. Or there's my Patreon page. There's a community page there where you can also interact with other people. I don't think it's quite active at the moment, but it's there. So today's episode, I feel like it's been a bit mixed. I haven't really gone into too much as what I've wanted to say the last couple of days, but again, I'm sitting here in the present moment, and whatever I said is trusting that's enough. That's what was meant to be said in this episode. So a lot of letting go is quite healthy in that aspect. And I don't often listen back on myself and think, I should have said this better, or should have said that. And perhaps we can do that with our days as well, and just know that each moment we're doing our best in each moment. And that's not to say the best we've ever done, but in that moment we can only do what our level of consciousness will allow us to do. And it only turns personal when there is a you there. I should have done that. I should have thought of that. Well, the thought didn't come, and that's just how it is. If there was someone you said you would call them on a certain day, and that thought just didn't arise in you, the action of reminding yourself of putting it in a calendar didn't happen, then that's just how it is. And it's almost letting go of this perfect me of not making mistakes. So, I feel like it's been a bit mixed, but perhaps that's because some time has gone by since I last recorded an episode. And I want to thank you for listening. If you've listened, if you've come this far in this episode, and I always wish you well on your journey, and I'll speak to you again very soon.